Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Off the Monster. I'm Jeff Brown, and with me, as always, is Mr. Taylor and Stats Masterson. Unfortunately, tonight, Jeremy couldn't be with us, but he's with us in spirit. We're going to get into quite a few items tonight, one being the major rule changes that MLB went ahead and approved going into 2023. We're going to review the week that was and the week that will be with the Red Sox. We saw our sweep in both directions and some good play over the weekend against a playoff competitor with the Orioles. And obviously, we're going to get into stats and chat. And we've got a bonus area we want to talk about. But to begin off, let's talk about the week that was. They played some fantastic teams, some good times, some bad times. Mr. Taylor, what did you see this week from your perspective? You know, what were the highlights? Who was your MVP going into or coming out of this week?
I mean, the first thing it did was drive me to alcoholism. I mean, they go up and down so much. It drives me absolutely crazy. We sweep the Rangers. We lose or we get swept by the Rays, and now we won 2 or 3 from the Orioles. So it's up and down as it has been all season long. It really, truly has. And for me, it was really nice to see Raffy come out of his slump this last couple games. Xander still raking. Casas hitting his first home run as a professional. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with the guy that got the ball. It was the best interview in the history of baseball.
Yeah, Ryan Brazier's brother.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
Yeah, Jordan Brazier.
He looked just like him. And I was more interested in his chicken wings than I was him catching the baseball. He really made for a good interview with Jermaine. But I mean, after watching us beat the Rangers, which we should have, they were so up and down with the race. I think game 2, we lost 8-4, if I'm not mistaken. And I felt like we were in it at a point. I really, truly did. But this team is just so inconsistent. I think that's the only thing that's consistent about them this year is that they're inconsistent. They won 17-4 last night, I think it was.
Yeah, 17-4.
Season highs in runs and season high in hits with 21, if I'm not mistaken. And then today was a 1-0 game. And I just was blown away by that, but that's baseball. And for me, this last week plus with the Red Sox is just kind of the crescendo for how the season went. When you're high, you're high. When you're low, you're low. And the guys just need to be better next year. I was excited to see Kike got a 1-year extension. I'm excited to see him come back next year. 1-year deal for $10 million. I think it's well worth the $10 million. I think he's an excellent defender. He can play second. He can play short. I bet if they put him at first base, the guy could do it too. So a lot happened with the team this last week and a half, and I'm excited for 2023 because 2022 is going to come to an end here in about 21 games for us.
Yeah, so, as you mentioned, Bogey, the X-Man, has been on fire. You got a guy who all of a sudden is leading. I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but quietly is leading the league in batting average. He's probably going to win the batting title. Depending on what happens in the next 21 games. But I didn't see him winning a batting title this year.
No, I mean, Luis Ariz was like miles ahead of everyone, right? And then he kind of started slowing down a little. He wasn't like, he hasn't gone into a massive slump, Ariz, but he's kind of just slowed down that little bit. And then Bogart's gone on this massive hot streak. And it's kind of ended up being this, thing of Bogart's multi-hit game, 2 hits, 2 hits again. Another 2 hits, another 2 hits, another 2 hits, another 2 hits, just piling them on. Like, it's ridiculous. I think he had like a 9-game hitting streak in that 2-game hitting streak. He was hitting like 560, I think. Like, just ridiculous from Bogarts. And helping the team out at a time where it's needed because Devers has been on a cold streak.
I was thinking about you this week, Stats, when they talked about who was leading the lead in doubles, because we had that discussion in our last episode of Off the Monstah, and 4 of the top 5 were Red Sox players.
Yeah, but they can't hit a home run to save their life.
What do you think? What was your take from this last week's Stats?
Shout out to Dick Mountain for that nice win, 1-0, that nice shutout performance in 5 innings today. But I think the real kind of MVP of the week is, and I think he's going to be the MVP of every single week, and that's Brian Bayo. I mean, I think they might have left him in a little too long, third time through the lineup. I think they probably should have just gone 2 times through the lineup and said, you know what, we are more than happy with that. But he, when he's on and his changeup is as nasty as it was against Baltimore, I mean, good freaking luck hitting it. I mean, he was making like the Orioles are like, yeah, we're gonna load up this lineup with lefties because righty lefties. This is how it works. Not against Brian Bayo. Good luck hitting that changeup to left-handed hitters. That is a pitch that it's up there with one of the most unhittable changeups in baseball already. I think like it was like his whiff percentage on a changeup is right up there with Devin Williams, and Devin Williams has like the nastiest changeup in the history of changeups. So like that just shows you how good his changeup's been. His sinker has the same pitch characteristics as Luis Castillo's sinker. They've just been amazing. He's been amazing. Obviously a little struggle late in that outing, but he seems like he's going to be the ace of the future.
Yeah, on a day that we remember, it is 9/11, and let's pay homage to those who lost their lives 21 years ago. Baseball has a way of warming our hearts with a fantastic story this month. Pujols is chasing 700. I mean, I get goosebumps because I don't think I'll ever see in my lifetime a player chase that number. And there is the history with PEDs and so forth and so on. We will get into that maybe over the winter when we get not much to talk about with games. But
and Babe Ruth being a wife murderer.
Well, there's that too, and a drunk and an alcoholic and a womanizer.
Leave Babe Ruth alone, guys. That's my favorite player.
But let's get back to Pujols hit 697, and who is not? I mean, I can't think of anybody that's not pulling for this guy, Mr. Taylor. I'm sure you've watched him growing up. He's a Cardinal. He was a Cardinal at heart. Yeah, he went to the West Coast, played out there for a while. The contract, like a lot of big contracts these days, didn't play out to what fans thought it would be. But he's back in St. Louis where he should be, and I hope he breaks into 700. What do you think, Mr. Taylor?
Oh, absolutely. I've been watching the guy his entire career. I've been watching baseball so long. I remember pre-steroids, steroids, and now post-steroids. And he was just a special hitter, I mean, from the onset of his career. And for the first 10 years that he was with the Cardinals, his lines were just video game-esque. You couldn't make it up. I mean, the guy was just a phenomenal hitter. I mean, he's been clean his entire career. Back in the mid 90s when you had Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire chasing Roger Maris's, illustrious 61 homers, they were on a deck of D-ball stack, man. They could probably have hit a 700-foot home run. They were so juiced up. Albert was just consistent. And 696 was impressive from Alex Rodriguez, but we know that he got bought for PEDs. And it kind of took away from it because those of us that love the game the way that we do, we're purists. We really, truly are. We wanted to see professional athletes playing a game that we love the way that it should be played, the way that it was intended to be played. And for Albert to hit 696 home runs, or was it 697 today?
It's 697 today.
697 today, to be fourth all time in a game that's been going on since 1857, I think, was the first professional game played with the New York Knickerbockers. So you're talking the number 4 guy, and we're getting to see him. That's a special thing. That is a truly special thing. And if he hits 700, none of us will see that again. We won't see that. Stats kids won't see that. My grandkids won't see that, just because of how quickly these players burn out and how quickly they're rotating. Yeah. So I think it's special. I really, truly think it's special. Excuse me.
Yeah. Stats we've talked about off Will It Dong. Looking at that schedule over the next 3 weeks. Yeah, they're at Milwaukee, they're at Cincinnati, at Pittsburgh. At home for those teams, on the road for San Diego, which it's almost impossible to hit out of.
Bartolo Colon says differently.
Yeah. The Dodgers at Milwaukee. Yeah, what do you think? I think it's heavily in his favor, and they're still in the playoffs, heavily into the playoffs. So what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's be fair now to say it's more likely that he'll do it than he doesn't do it. I'm gonna read some of Albert Pujols' home run numbers from his rookie year on 37 home runs, 34, 43, 46, 41, 49, 32, 37, 47, 42, 37. That's his I think 11 years with the Cardinals. Then he goes to the Angels and slows down a little bit, mostly due to injuries, obviously. But he goes 30, 17, 28, then has that big 40 home run year resurgence. Then 31, 23, 19, 23, 6 in 2020 in the shortened season. And then look at this. He hit 17 last year between the Angels and Dodgers, and now he's got 18 this year, 3 away from hitting 700. This guy is the hitter that you would love any hitter to be. Hits for average, hits for power, drives his guys in, super clutch, and does it consistently. I think probably the best hitter of this past generation. And he's a lock for the Hall of Fame. And but also too, it's so massive for him and as Albert Pujols being from the Dominican Republic to do this as well. You look at all the guys who've done it before, hit 700, the 3 guys who've done it before. It's not like Babe Ruth, like that's forever ago. Even Hank Aaron, long time ago, and that did have meaning because it was a black man in the South. It was a big thing back then, but that's also a long time ago still. You look at it, and the reason was Barry Bonds and PEDs. I think for Albert Pujols to do it and also be from somewhere like the Dominican Republic where it's like, okay, you don't necessarily need to come from the greatest background ever. I think it's a huge thing, and it only helps grow the game of baseball.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The word you said that stuck out to me is consistency. There aren't many guys you could look back throughout history. Ted Williams, obviously, for the Red Sox, was Mr. Consistent the way he hit, and having gone away for years with the wars that he went, both Korean and WW2, but he's been the ideal mark of consistency. And furthermore, I know we talked off the podcast about that. There's a little bit of an issue with people in the stands, and we saw that in Tampa. And we saw that in Baltimore. And baseball needs a story like this. They need a Pujols, in September to drive into the playoffs and get people to show up for the playoffs. So with that being said, I know we got the playoffs coming, we got a few weeks of baseball coming. Big story popped at the end of this last week. The rule changes that we'll start to see in 2023. Some we thought we'd see, which is a pitch clock. I was a little bit surprised there because I thought that would be another year or two, because I didn't think they really played it out in the minor leagues enough to see how that would work. I thought maybe the robot umpires would come before that. The no shifts, we kind of saw that coming. I didn't see the larger bases coming, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, but I want to hear your take on the pitch clock for both the batters and the hitters' stats.
Yeah, well, so the rule is, I'll just kind of give it a brief kind of what the rule is. The pitchers, when there's no one on base, have a 15-second pitch clock where they have to start their pitching motion 15 seconds after they receive the ball, and the hitter has to be in the batter's box after 8 seconds. So, if the hitter isn't in the batter's box, guess what? Too bad. And that's on the hitter. And, the pitcher doesn't have to wait for you to get in the box. If it's after 8 seconds, you're not in the box, pitcher's ready to throw the ball. Guess what? Pitcher, you can throw the ball. You don't have to wait on the hitter anymore. Also, too,
isn't it a strike if they don't get in there, too, as far as the batter?
Yeah, it's a strike. Also, too, you have 20 seconds it moves to 20 seconds with guys on base. So the pitchers do get an extra 5 seconds with guys on base. There also is a little caveat to it. You have a limited amount of pickoffs. You can pick over to a base 2 times. You get 2 pickoff moves. And you can't just fake a pickoff. You have to actually throw it. You get 2 pickoff moves. On the third one, you can still pick off a third time. However, if the runner's out, no problems. However, if the runner is safe, you don't pick him off, it counts as a balk and he gets to move up a base. So there's also hey, you can't just pick over constantly to reset your clock. You know, we got to get this thing going. We can't have downtime of like, so for example, I saw the pitch. I'm pretty sure it was the pitching ninja. It might have been someone else on Twitter. I'm pretty sure it was the pitching ninja. And he posted that an at-bat between Kenley Jansen and Ozzie Albies, I think it was a couple of years ago, lasted longer than the Kentucky Derby. And I'm like, the at-bat for two, actually it wasn't even the whole at-bat, it was 2 pitches of the at-bat. With 2 pitches, took over 2 minutes. Like, that's a little ridiculous. And I think that the pitch clock, it's a lot of the pitchers actually, timing wise, aren't going to have a problem with the 15 seconds. There's actually a decent amount of pitchers who are already under that 15 seconds when there's no one on base. Now, maybe with the runners on, that could be an adjustment period. But also, too, these kids in the minor leagues, like Brian Bayo, for example, for the Red Sox, he's been used to this pitch clock. You see him work in the big leagues when there's no one on base. He's catching the ball, he's ready to throw, and the batter's not ready, and the batter has to call time because they're not ready. He's already on this mental pitch clock because he's gotten used to it. So it's going to take an adjustment from these older players, but, you know, we can hear them whine and moan about it for a few months. Whatever, let them do it. Don't give them responses. Let them whine about it. They'll get used to it. They'll figure it out. But also, too, it leaves a big, massive advantage for the pitchers who do figure it out quick and don't have to worry about getting balks or, you know, having stuff like having penalties against them because they're not going quick enough. And it could work to the advantage of pitchers or maybe even base runners, base stealers. You know, the guy can't throw over a third time, and if he doesn't get you out, you don't like, if he doesn't get you out, you get to move up to second anyways. If you're on first, if you're a guy who can steal, maybe you take that extra little half step in your lead because you know he's got to get me out, throws over. I can still get back. But as soon as he moves, I'm darting towards second. It also brings a little bit more of a stolen base tendency back up if a pitcher picks off too much. So there's that as well. There will be an adjustment period, especially for the guys who've been in the league for a long time. But guys will get used to it. It'll make the games quicker. It's not even necessarily about making the games quicker. It's just about shortening the dead time in the game. I think that's what it's going to do effectively. And that's why I'm fine with the rule change.
Yeah, exactly. One thing you said that I was thinking about over the last few days is I think there will be an increase in stolen bases. And maybe not next year, but in the coming years, because you can't throw over there that much anymore. You know, there's gonna be an advantage to those guys who are speedy, who can steal bases. They're gonna figure out a method and how they're gonna be able to increase their probability of stealing the base. But Mr. Taylor, you brought up a word earlier, purists. You know, purity in the game. Yeah, I think of all the big 4 sports, and I do count hockey because I'm a huge hockey fan. But baseball is by far the most pure sport. It's simple. You hit the ball, you catch the ball, you throw the ball. You know, there are some rules in there, but by far, there are the least amount of rules in baseball compared to all the sports, the major sports out there, in my mind. And that's where I think the old purists might get their underwears all wrinkled up. But I think it's great for the game. What say you?
Oh, can I also add real quickly too? Yes, it might speed the game up. It's still 27 outs, still 9 innings, more if you get the extra innings. You're not getting less baseball. So I do want to throw that in there as well, because I know people losing their minds. You're not getting less baseball.
I mean, I personally, being a purist of the game, loving everything about it, from the history of the game to today, I want to see 18 innings. I love watching baseball. I don't fall asleep. I don't get tired of it. But I understand why they're doing it. I understand, you know, the average person doesn't have my attention span when it comes to the game. And I think the average game is running over 3 hours. The average playoff game is over 4 hours. And you're going to lose viewers, and they want to put butts in the seats. I get that. For me, I'm okay with the rule changes. We talked a little bit before we went online about the shift, and the shift is now going to be banned going into 2023. It's two players on each side of the base. They have to have their feet on the dirt or on the infield, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So basically, it's going to go back to the way the game was designed. And though I've been watching baseball as far as I can remember, I don't remember the shift until mid 2000s. I think
Tampa
Joe
Bay
Madden
Rays
was the
and Joe
first.
Madden.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say, I think Joe
Madden
Madden-
definitely brought it to light, but my father reminds me all the time. They shifted Ted Williams all the
Yes.
time.
Yes, and
I think there's
saw
a
that.
I never
Difference,
saw
though.
a game, but he tells me, and I believe him because he
I
was
think
there.
I think there's a difference though in that the frequency of we're seeing it. We're seeing got 9 hitters who are hitting 200 getting shifted on.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's the
ridiculous.
difference. That's the difference here.
Yeah,
But
And also, and I think that's really the big Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters of all time. You know, Sandy Leone. Why are you shifting on him? He can barely
why
hit
you
the
shifted
baseball.
on JBJ?
you leave Sandy Leone alone, man. He'll forever be a World Series champion. But I actually saw a picture not a picture, not a picture, but a picture of the shift of Ted Williams, and it was the most exaggerated shift I've ever seen, and I hated it because if they're shifting on him, what he hit 406, I think is still the record. Can
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
imagine what that dude would have hit had they not shifted on him? I mean, conceivably 500, just an insane statistic that we can't even quantify. But I hate the shift. Like Raffy scorched the ball yesterday up the middle, and there was the shortstop. I mean, played perfectly. I get the analytics. I understand why they do it, but I think it's horrible for the game, and I'm going to be so glad to see it go away next year. The pitch clock, I think, is going to take a lot to get used to. I think you're going to have there's going to be a lot of learning curve for, like Stat said, the guys that have been there for a hot minute. The kids that are coming up through the minors, like you got Casas, you got Bayo, those guys are going to understand it. But you got a guy that's been playing the game forever and a day, like Rich Hill. Even though Rich Hill did pitch a game where the game was like 2 hours and 20 minutes, he did it on purpose to show you didn't need a pitch clock. Unfortunately, that was a diamond in the rough, and it was. But not every player will do that. So between the shift, as we were talking about earlier, I'm glad to see it go because I want to see an offense. I like offensive baseball. Pitchers duels like today. You know, at one point I was like, all right, for every hit, I'll take a shot of Jack Daniels. Well, that wasn't a lot of Jack Daniels, unfortunately, today. So I kind of gave up on that idea about the 6th inning. But you know, I'm interested to see how it all play out next year. I'm really happy the shift is gone. I'm interested to see how the old timers will do with the pitch clock, the larger bases. I don't know if you guys saw Rich Hill yesterday
with the couch cushion.
With the couch cushion at third base. Dude, I lost it. Lost it. I was like, that is so well done. It should be memed and retweeted and put on Instagram and TikTok and everything. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah, I do want to go quick before we get to the bigger bases, because this kind of plays into a little bit, also plays into the banning of the shift, where the MLB is trying to promote athleticism. How often do you see a guy running up the middle, making a diving play and getting the guy out at first? How often do you see that anymore? How often?
You don't.
Like, you just don't see it. And I think teams that have athletic guys are going to benefit from it. And we're going to get to that a little bit in stats and shats.
Yeah.
We're going to get to a little bit of athleticism, stats and shats. But let's talk about the bigger bases, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I think not just those plays, but safety. I mean, I played baseball once I got out of Babe Ruth in high school, and softball too. And you'd have the double bases. And that's what I think about when I think about these bigger bases coming along. It's safety. You know, guys, especially the pitchers who aren't apt to be covering as much. You know, those are the guys who are crashing into Devers, bowling down the first baseline, that run into each other. This is less apt to happen if we have these bigger bases. Guys twisting their ankles, people getting their hands stepped on. So I love it from a safety aspect. Of all three of the rule changes, I love this one the most. And one thing that I would love to see return in baseball, and I hope this leads to it, is the stolen base. I loved watching Ricky Henderson on the bases. Do I think we have a Ricky Henderson on the Red Sox? Not yet. But Trevor Story's a fast guy. He's not slow. He can fly. If Duran ever gets his shit together, he can fly. And this would help him, even if it's just an inch or two between first and second base or second and third. It's going to help a speedy guy like this that would normally be out, after 18 replays to see if he was out or safe. So I like it. So let's get to it. I can't wait for 2023 to see what brings it, most notably what the Red Sox and the future of those prospects look like. But let's get into stats and chat. I feel like we need some drums going into this because I'm looking forward to this one. Stats.
All right. So we're talking about baseball wanting to make the game more athletic and bring in more athleticism. And athleticism has not really been the Red Sox department this year. Having the guys like JD Martinez that is going to help. Alex Verdugo was the fastest guy. And you look at Baseball Savant and they have a stat called bolts, BOLTS, like a bolt that you put into a wall. But it's not the same thing. A bolt in baseball context is any time where the sprint speed of the runner is at least 30 feet per second. So in any competitive run where the sprint speed exceeds 30 feet per second, or reaches it or exceeds it. So the league leader in bolts, who wants to take a guess?
League leader in bolts. Is it a Red Sox?
No, not even close.
Not a Red Sox player. Leads the league in bolts.
I'm
going to say that.
I don't know.
I'm going to say that kid Rodriguez from the Mariners.
He's fourth in the league in bolts.
Hey, I was in the top four.
I'm going to say it's the kid from the Yankees.
Nope. Yankees don't have anyone in the top 20.
All right. I have no idea.
Number one is Trey Turner with 116 bolts this year and 247 competitive runs. And then second is Bobby Witt Jr. with 87 bolts in 168 competitive runs. So competitive runs essentially is just when a guy's like actually pushing. It's not when the guy's just kind of jogging around or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. The Red Sox, you're not leading that. We jog around and get caught out on the bases.
Well, so when you talk about bolts and I talk about bolts and talk about the Red Sox lacking athleticism, the Red Sox only have 5 guys who have had a bolt this year. Jarren Duran with 13. Then it's Trevor Story with 5, Franchi Cordero with 4, 1 for Tommy Pham, which was before he was with the Red Sox, might I add, and then 1 from Xander Bogaerts. It is not looking great athleticism-wise.
What I love about stats and shats is I would love to see what my face looks like when stats comes off with these things. Because I swear to God, man, they're just making shit up at this point. they're looking for new analytics every day. Let's just call it. I'd love to have been part of that meeting at MLB headquarters. Yeah, let's come up with something else today. Let's call it Bolt because I just watched that Disney movie with my kids.
No, the thing with bolts is anytime a guy goes over 30 feet per second in their sprint speed, 30 feet per second is like an elite sprint speed. The Red Sox don't have anyone whose average sprint speed is 30 feet per second. There aren't many guys with over 30 feet per second as their average sprint speed in the entire MLB. There is
30 feet per second doesn't even make any sense to me. It's
it
unfathomable. It sounds like Superman speed.
Yeah. There's 11 players with an average sprint speed of 30 feet per second or higher. Only 11.
Yeah. I go to 0 to 60 in my car in about 2 miles.
Yeah, I have a Jeep Wrangler. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm the Tortuga, man. I'm the turtle. I'm not going anywhere fast. So it's these statistics. I can't even quantify my little brain because it's I don't operate at the speed of Bolt.
But partly the reason I bring this up is the Red Sox, they don't have a lot of speed. You look at the DH spot, JD Martinez, 26.2 feet per second is his average sprint speed. It's about middle of the pack for DHs. It's below league average though. Right field, they have Rob Refsnyder listed, I guess, but he's just barely above league average. He's way below league average for right fielders. And center field, Kike Hernandez is one of the slowest center fielders in the MLB, and his sprint speed is below the entire league average, regardless of position. Alex Verdugo for left fielders is like near the bottom. Tommy Pham is about middle of the pack, but Verdugo is near the bottom. At shortstop, Bogarts is just slightly above average for shortstops. Devers is one of the slowest third basemen. Now, Trevor Story is one of the quicker second basemen, and Arroyo's about league average for second base. At first base, Hosmer, about league average. I'm guessing that's probably around where Cassis will end up. For first baseman, Dahlbeck and Cordero are two of the fastest first basemen in the league, but then again, like neither of them are on the roster right now. And then at catcher, it's Reese McGuire and Kevin Pluckey are both really slow. And then Connor Wong is fast.
Yeah, as we wrap this up, we got a couple games versus the Yankees and a few against Kansas City. Let's hope we can put a wrench in the Yankees playoffs hope. Look for that 2-game sweep this week, and we'll be back with you next week, hopefully with Jeremy on our side. Keep on looking for us on all those social media platforms and share away, as we want to bring you the latest and greatest for Red Sox Nation. Thank you, everyone.